Good evening. Welcome to Outrageous Women. I'm Jacqueline Taylor. As usual, we have a very exciting show for you tonight, and some very special Santa Barbara people are here with us tonight. It's really a pleasure to introduce Claire Rabe. And although she probably doesn't like to admit it, she's a pretty notorious lady here in Santa Barbara. And we're going to get to know her a little better tonight. And Joseppi Scozzaro is the owner of Joseppi's, and anybody who likes jazz in Santa Barbara has certainly found Joseppi's. So we're going to begin tonight with some excerpts from Claire's book, and Joseppi is going to play some music, and maybe you didn't know he played music, but he does, so here they go. Dog shadow thin I arrive, carrying my third child like a weapon through this old town, while the only thing I feel is my hair tight, hurting where the baby holds on. A fierce clock, she reminds my vague, shocked self that I must function. We kiss, and I inhale her breath like food, warm as the milk I flowed into her some months ago. October in Sicily, and there is the first volcano I have ever seen. Cool mountain, lambent with snow on its mouth. How can it be so hot inside? I buy grapes, wash them in the fountain, while broody dark men watch me bending over. I suddenly feel well-fleshed, and the skin of grapes slides agreeably over my tongue. The baby has fun spitting with them. I buy a great deal more to bring to the other children waiting at home. It will be easy to eat in this country. Long walks, up and down steps, going from view to view, the town spread around in broken architecture, painted in tired color that was once red. Walls better than current art, moon-pitted, incredibly dry. What a sun has made all this happen. Centuries of summer, centuries of cats and dogs breeding under Roman arches. Women who still wear black, faces yellow, a smear of bad flesh under the and hair in her armpits. I see them as black curling flowers. Their legs are strong and hairy. Men do not force them to shave. Here they do not alter animals or their passions. This directness, this use of the body attracts me at once to the Sicilians and makes me feel warm. There is no subtle sex here, no American sex, but coupling itself. The day for a Sicilian has happened if he has made love. It seems empty to sleep unless it is post-coital. I long for a lover here as I have longed for dogs to sleep with me in my virtuous days. I want warm animals so near me that they are inside.
Desire grows on me. I see it reflected in the men who stare at me. Their lust is an approval of my fattening body. I eat so much now. Just to look at the vegetables is to feel nourished. A kind of cauliflower that grows almost nowhere else in season. The whole top of it is painted deep purple, formidable as the color runs off into the cooking water, till finally eaten white again, drenched in pungent olive oil. My children are so well here. They break rough bread and dunk it in sauce. They eat garlic and tomatoes. Our cuisine is the maid's, who makes lentil soup with pasta, broccoli with rice. We seem to be in a farmer's kitchen. My house is a good smell, while in the garden pomegranates burst on trees and oranges hang like lanterns. There he is, small, angry-faced man. As he stands up to greet me, a ray of sun slanting through the window grabs his eyes. They glare at me in the agate yellow of certain birds, the pupils pinned on me. I have seen that yellow in the amber I found on the beaches of the Baltic Sea, where I played as a child. I have seen that yellow in the eyes of Clarita. When she lusted for me, she was rapacious. Like the watching bird, her eyes, cold yellow, pointed exactly to the center of me, as his are now. This will be my first lover. I must prepare myself, as for the first time ever. My hair needs to be cut, no more pins in it. I examine my fine skin and bathe it carefully. I polish my children as one does beautiful apples. My walks have a direction now. I go to his bar, where he stands in the doorway, waiting, sure of me. I had no idea that he is the richest young man in town, the most beautiful. Red wine, fresh from the slopes of the mountain, cheap and delicious like penny candy. I drink it fast. It seems to improve my Italian. The room, square and low, underlit with a skinny dog asleep on one of the chairs. The owner dedicates a song to me about the torment of love, smiling at the nuova coppia that has the town talking. I feel pleasant, involved with everything and everyone there. A ditch digger I have seen working along the street, dark and beautiful, now dressed in a marvelous velveteen jacket that shines like a chestnut, nods to me, but I do not answer. I resent his trying to make real my flirtation with him. I only like to watch him working, to dream about his strength and simplicity. I really wish he would not confuse his reality with my fantasy. Don't speak, I think. Don't let me hear your voice. Just be there and let me dream about you. I don't want to touch you. I just want the idea of you. That's my man over there, that handsome creature lounging by my side, more elegant than you, an offspring of Greeks and Moors with a body Michelangelo had adored. Yes, my eyes roam the men with ease, for I am safe among them, coupled to Roberto, whose loins are making me happen. Quanto sei bello, I whisper. He grins, but has to say, a man is simpatico, not beautiful. Oh, I don't speak Italian well, Roberto. I make mistakes, but don't teach me too much. Va bene, Va bene, he nods, his eyes iridescent, picking up all the light that there is in the room. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
Yes.
As you were reading, I was thinking about being a woman, and from something I read about you recently in The Independent about your life. You had left your husband and gone to Sicily, and I imagine that you were going through great changes on all levels, inner and outer changes at that point in your life, and that this sometimes falling in love has to do with, can I say, falling in love with yourself at the same time. Can you relate to this at all?
Not really, no.
No?
No, because I must say I'm trying to promote this book, Sicily Enough and More, which is very beautiful, and Sasha is one of the people who helped work on it. And Sicily Enough is very much the past for me, but not in the sense that I don't like to explain it anymore or to trace it. You know, I like to feel that whatever I have written says it, and I have a hard time looking at the past and giving comfortable answers. So my emphasis these days is exactly on The Independent, that I'm writing impressions now and I'm writing new things, and those are the ones that
There are some of those in this book.
They're in this book, yes, and I do want to give a very special thanks to Marianne Partridge, the editor-in-chief of The Independent, because if she had not allowed impressions to appear, they would not have, and I'm very grateful to her, because they are my favorite expression at this time, and I would love later on, if there is time, to read a few.
Oh yes, of course.
I'm rather wanting to do something about, well, I think this book really addresses itself to pro-choice. In this book, I do talk about an abortion.
And this was some time ago. This book was
Yes,
written.
I think there was a very good piece about me by Russ Spencer,
Yes.
and in the News Press, and I really.
You were one of the first women to really
yes,
write about
don't
this
don't think
issue.
it makes me glad to have.
No, but it's
I
still
mean,
something that
I know.
it hurts. But
Well, yes.
it's an important issue now for women.
It's
to think
absolutely
that we
necessary, yeah.
fought this battle 20
Yes.
years ago, and now we have to fight it again.
Yes, Jackie, I know. And while I myself do not recommend abortions to my daughters because they can afford to have children, it is an absolute necessity for people who can't do it.
For whatever reason.
For whatever
may be.
reason, yes.
Yes.
And then the other subject that interests me is, of course, the plight of the homeless, which is the most shocking.
Yes.
I am always shocked when I walk in Santa Barbara and see a man sleeping on the street. I can't get used to it.
Mm-mm.
I don't think any of us can be used to it, and so I want to give my energy very much in that direction, and I hope that Mitch Snyder's walk in Washington, October 7th, will be very successful, so we can talk about affordable housing instead of drugs and et cetera, because, you know, drugs are the result.
I think the drug abuse has gone up in proportion to the economic situation in the country, so you can't really separate those two things.
My cup overfloweth,
Yes.
Jackie.
Let me get rid of that for you.
Yeah.
There's another one here for you, Claire.
Well, that's all right. I'm not I don't have a dry mouth now.
We met quite a few years ago,
Mm.
and you were very helpful to me at the time. And that was when you had a place called Baudelaire's, and it was a very go there any night of the week comfortably. You had a very nice man on the door. I remember him well. And it was a place where you could feel safe, have a good time, see good friends. It was wonderful. And I missed it terribly when it closed because there was nothing like it. You could also dance alone if you wanted to. You could actually get out on the dance floor by yourself and be comfortable.
Yes, my concept on that was that the dance floor is everywhere, you know, and it was wonderful in the 70s at Baudelaire's, and then the 80s became disagreeable because the night was taken from women, and now it's being taken from pedestrians or whoever. I mean, I actually used to do my own security. In the beginning, I would greet everyone in the front door. It never occurred to me that someone might stick a knife in me. It just was like that, you know. But then, around 78, when you started to come around, then I did have to have security already. And I couldn't walk the women to their cars 2 streets over, you know, on Haley Street and State, because it was, well, there were nice street people, and then the junkies came in and it got to be very, very desperate. And I also think we should legalize drugs, so I've taken a certain stand here, and I'm glad to do so. Yeah.
Well, I think that the European life, I know I haven't traveled too much in Europe, but Greece and Turkey have been the places where I've spent time. And, you know, people there stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning. You have dinner at 10, and you can go anywhere in the streets. And I've walked in Istanbul by myself. I've walked in Athens by myself.
Yes, of course.
And haven't been afraid.
Oh, I've walked alone in
recent years. So it's a different feeling than you have here. I wouldn't walk in New York or Los Angeles by myself at night.
No.
They live, there's outdoor cafes everywhere. People are living outside in the night. There's music, there's things happening all the time, so it's quite different than it is here. Well, someone who's kept some of that energy going is Joseppi with his wonderful jazz club, and it's right across the street from where Baudelaire's used to be. And it's wonderful to have that place to go to. That's also a place where a woman alone can go and feel comfortable. It's not, it doesn't have that same atmosphere that some clubs do. It's a comfortable place for people to go.
Well, my place is about 1/3 the size that Baudelaire's was. And I remember I opened 1 month before Baudelaire's closed.
Really?
And I remember distinctly, we had sandblasted all the walls in my place. And I had sand this deep on the floor. That's where I was sleeping. Not on the floor, I had a cot set up there while we were remodeling the place. I used to go across the street to Baudelaire's, have a great time. All I had to do was walk back across the street to go to sleep.
This was 83.
83.
83,
This was
right.
around April 83, but
Yeah.
just before we opened.
And what moved you to open a club like Joseppi's? Was it a dream? Had you done it before?
It's just actually the way it turned out. It's a total fluke. Just a
Really?
total fluke. I have had zero experience in the bar or restaurant business. I never worked in a bar in my life or a restaurant. I take that back. I bussed tables at a church bazaar one time. When I was about 14, one Sunday afternoon. But that's my experience in the restaurant or bar business. I didn't know one musician in town when we opened. I didn't even know that we were going to have music. It wasn't designed as a music club initially. But now I probably know every musician in town. They're all wonderful people, and I used to think that musicians were like little gods, you know, that they were like beyond approach. They are the most wonderful group of people I've ever met in my entire life. 'cause I've never known musicians. And they're artists. They're artists who just love what they're doing. But I think the public probably thinks that since some musicians are so good and they're in a band and they're on the stage performing for the public, that it's difficult for the public to talk to them. And I think that's completely wrong. Musicians love to talk to people.
Also, what goes on at your club is a lot of creativity. I think it's a place where, how can I say, the audience expectations are such that new things are happening all the time. It's a fun place. I think from my experience at your club, it's not a place where people go there primarily to drink. It's a place where you go to hear music. And you also have good food, too, very unusual food that you don't get in other places, which is a draw, too.
Well, as far as the food, it's mostly just appetizer type things. Well, I don't even have a stove to cook anything, but I mean, it's mostly fresh appetizer type things.
But they're good.
Finger foods to nibble on. I'd like to say something about, I just heard today about the jazz on KKGO. I don't know if you're aware of that. I mean, the big jazz station, KKGO, has eliminated jazz early in the mornings and also between 5 and 9 o'clock at night. It's all classical music now, which sort of broke my heart when I heard that.
Yes.
I just heard that this afternoon, and sure enough, I turned the radio on about 5:30, and it's classical music. I mean, to me, it's like baseball going by the wayside. You know?
Well, you've been a musician, I would imagine, for a long time yourself. Playing your accordion. Have you done that since you were a kid, or?
The love of music was really rekindled after opening Joseppi's. I took accordion lessons when I was 9 years old, from about 9 to 12 years old. And then I just quit. I was more interested in playing baseball and basketball and, you know, all those things. And when I opened the bar, every morning at about 10 o'clock, I'd put the coffee on. I'd sit there till 5 o'clock and practice.
That's great.
I just loved music so much.
That's great. And you came from New York?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Trenton, New Jersey.
And you didn't come directly to Santa Barbara, or did you?
No, actually, I had a job with Westinghouse in Maryland. They transferred me to Vallejo, which was a government contract job, working with
Well,
Mare
what
Island.
brought you to Santa Barbara?
Well, Vallejo is quite a ways north, and I just kept moving south till I found Santa Barbara. And that was as far south as I wanted to go.
Well, we're all glad that you decided to stay. And I know that Joseppi's has a reputation of being a place where there's good music, and musicians stop by to play for an evening, coming or going up and down the coast, and you have some really fine musicians. Not only do this is a town, I think, that has some excellent musicians. It always has drawn artists of all kinds because it's beautiful here. And I think they're drawn to that beautiful atmosphere in the mountains and the ocean. And so not only do we have our fine musicians here, but the ones going up and down the coast, and I'm sure they make special trips up to play at Joseppi's. That's great. You know, at Claire's place, Baudelaire's, that was the place where the new bands could get a start. You gave a lot of opportunities, and I remember that you started out on Wednesday nights, and when you got good enough, you played Saturday night, and that was just wonderful to play Saturday night.
Yeah.
That was fun.
But you know, at the present time, I must say that Joseppi is doing so much for this town.
Yes.
Everything that I wanted to do and had room enough to do in those days, he does it now with no room. And it's just absolutely amazing. I remember especially the beautiful day when we memorialized Robin Caston, and soon you're going to do something for animal rights. There'll be a whole day dedicated to that. Not that I mean to put the two together, but and Robin, he understands what I mean by that.
Yes. We have another guest with us tonight. You may have detected his guitar playing when we opened up, and that's Randy Cobb. And Randy's been on the show before, but it's been a long time. It's good to see you again. And you have a special song that you are going to play for us tonight.
Yeah, I do. I want to say just real quickly, I really appreciate being here. I want to really tell you both how much we appreciate. I'm not speaking for all the musicians or nothing, but for myself, and I think I can speak for all the musicians, how we appreciate the place where we can go and play. You know, we can go and make strange noises with guitars and scream and holler, and you know, and make some. I've made the best music I've ever made in my life is in your club.
Does that mean I can start paying you less, Randy?
Yeah, less, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. Well, anyway, yeah, getting back to playing. I had the pleasure of hanging out and playing with Robin Caston, and he was a wild man and a great talent. And I have composed a song that I'm going to be doing on a demo tape for an album, it looks like. And I'll play it. I'd like to present it, you know, with a full band and all that kind of stuff, but I'll play it for you just a little bit, see if you like it. Hope you do.
Oh, don't play just a little bit.
How about a whole lot? 3.5 hours worth. Anyway, we hope to record that in a very majestic or very powerful with a band. The band I have is the Wrist Rockets, and it's really wonderful. It exemplifies just some of the feeling that myself but God, thousands of other people have heard from Robin and from the musicians and artists in general, you know, around town. And also thanks a lot for having people like, you know, us on your show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And there may be some people out there who don't know who Robin is. Robin was a very wonderful, energetic musician in this town, singer, that everybody knew Robin. And maybe you could...
Well, you see, Robin was this guy. Robin was this guy that was pretty high energy. He's the only guy I know that I could be playing with him on stage, and he'd look over at me across stage and say, "Stop that, stop it, cut that out, stop that, stop what you're doing," you know. I go, "Oh, okay," you know, because the guy knew what he was talking about, you know, and he was very, very high energy, could sing his butt off. Can I say that on TV?
Yes, you can say
And
that on
sing his
TV.
butt off. And, you know, he was a great guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, good feeling.
Yes. Well, Robin died about, I don't know how many months ago now. Very shocking for the whole music community here in Santa Barbara, because he was only, 32 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of a mysterious thing. You wonder, we never understand why things like this happen, but he certainly made an impression on many, many people for the short time he was here with us. Anybody who ever saw Robin sing never forgot him. So he's still, his energy's still here, and that's really saying something for somebody so young. And I think that, again, speaks to the community here, the community of artists, all kinds of artists, the musicians and the poets. There's a connection in this place. We're so blessed with so many talented people here, and talented in so many different ways. It's wonderful. I feel just really good that I ended up in Santa Barbara myself. We're lucky to be here between the mountains and the sea with so many talented people. Clara, you wanted to read something about the homeless.
Yes, I would like that very much, and perhaps, Randy, you could do some high notes to it. You know, I'm just sort of casually.
It's a nice
Sure,
cover.
it's beautiful.
Who did the cover
This,
for you?
this is done by Graham McIntosh.
Very nice.
Yes, it's absolutely beautiful, yes. Okay. So, Randy, I'm going to read something. That I think actually you weren't in town when this came out in the Independent first. Oh, and hello to my daughters Julia and her baby Naomi Sarah, my granddaughter, and Jennifer, hello, and hello to Robin Caston's parents. So, this is really fun. I've never been on television, but here I am. What do you do with him? She said out loud to herself, startled by the sound of her own voice in the quiet zone of her car, where she was parked, staring at a bundle, a heap, a human form covered by a plastic sheet, head and feet outside in the rain. His tennis shoes had filled with water. There was no one around. It was morning after a holiday. Traffic was sluggish, a lot of stores closed. She'd been traveling along Montecito Street, no other cars in sight. The rain was coming down. At first she thought the bundle was forgotten, or spilled there in the middle of the grassy part between the fig tree and the railway tracks. She couldn't see another person, someone to help with this one asleep in the rain. She was perplexed. She walked over to the bundle, unable to not do something. But she was afraid to touch him. Probably he slept in the middle of the lawn because it was safer than under the tree with those dark recesses in the fig roots growing over ground. He might react in a violent fashion. What could she do for him anyway? There wasn't even a place to take him. No shelter, no halfway place. Should she call the police? He might not appreciate that, and she didn't feel messianic enough to bring him home. She wanted to be good without being oppressed by his neediness. She felt incompetent. Surely someone else would come along soon, would know what to do. She got back into her car and tried to forget about him. The rain was incessant and awful. The road was slippery. She was glad her car had new tires. Gridlock on 101 South and Carrillo. Multi-lanes of freeway have come to a halt under a smog alert and 95 degrees heat. The KTMS traffic report is accurate. She's a witness. Her air conditioner is laboring. Other drivers turn their motors off. Windows are rolled down. Getting to know your neighbors on the freeway, nobody smiles. Burning and choking sensations, gridlock, smog and heat. This is the entrance to hell, the one Dante never thought of. Fury plus the need for patience stiffen her body into a yogic pose that could turn into rigor mortis at last. Movement up ahead, start the motor, get going, roll up the windows, start the air conditioner, insert the talking heads, forget about the faces left and right, regain control of your ivory tower on wheels. Family and friends sit in chairs from the last century, stone floors covered by Persian carpets. Portraits of ancestors look out from the invented past, when no one killed, but everyone hunted. She felt stabbed by an impulse to interrupt the polite exchange. She wanted smaller museums and larger shelters, but she couldn't say it out loud. Oh, and this is for the Wilcox property. Turgid red paint marks the trees for slaughter on the Wilcox property. Developer's disease has struck. Along the path, one live oak after another is doomed. For a driveway, for delivery trucks, the trees are helpless. And here's, well, perhaps I have time for two more. I'd like to do this one. Observing Ted Turner from across the room, moving in closer, next in line to shake his hands, but she stepped away. I only fear nuclear war and the wrath of women, he'd said. The man's good looks, his fitness, the focus in his eyes, his boyish enthusiasm for global disarmament, the fact that he had flown his own plane to the banquet, all this endeared him to her. But how did he incur the wrath of women? And here's, this is for the dogs of the homeless. Right, yeah. The animal looked very tired by Joe's feet. He had his eyes closed and she wished hers were. Is that part pit? She asked. Oh no, Joe answered. He's pure pit. That's a pure put bull there. Too bad they have such a bad reputation, she said. Yeah, he agreed. But they're bad when they're mad. Her hair was standing on end, and she was careful not to move much. She kept her eyes lowered, never looked at the dog again. She hoped he would not smell her bad conscience as she stood there talking to his best friend. That's a nice leash, she commented, appraising the relative strength of the leather, if the dog ever turned, or Joe, for that matter. Thank you, Dad.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you for letting me read this.
Oh, it's a pleasure, really. We enjoy it.
It's a pleasure to be with Joseppi and Randy, really.
Isn't it nice?
Yes, and you, familiar.
Well, I just love doing this.
I know.
mean, it's wonderful to be able to talk with people and let the people of Santa Barbara get to know their neighbors. It's really nice.
Yes, it is a wonderful place to try and do that in.
Mm-hmm.
And you have made a kind of really experimental place here. I mean, everything here, as I understand it, has nothing to do with money.
That's right.
And I mean, that's what Baudelaire's was all about, really,
Yes.
you know. And it makes it possible for me to just sit up here and stumble and
Well, just be yourself. And we all stumble sometimes, so we're just who we are here. Feels
yes,
good.
there's a certain pleasure in stumbling, I find.
Yes. I want to mention, well, I want you to mention where you're going to be, where people can come and see you play music. I know you're going to be at a very special fundraiser at the Red Lion Inn because I read it in the paper. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning here.
Okay.
I was born at a very early age. No, I'm just kidding. I think I'm going to be at Joseppi's Saturday night.
All right.
This is one of the good things about working with Joe. But on October 1st, we're performing at the Red Lion Inn for Christmas Unity. It's a large concert to benefit the Council of Christmas Cheer, Christmas Unity. And if you haven't been down to the Victoria Street Theater to take a tour of the store, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Sometime in November, it looks like we're going to do a local band with Kenny Loggins, some people like that down at the Ventura Theater. I'll know more about that later, so maybe I can.
Sure,
you'll
let me
find
know.
out about that more.
Yeah.
But that's it's not really that big a deal, these benefits, because at the very least we should be feeding people.
Yes.
The very I mean, it's not like somebody's coming out going, "Wah," like we're doing a benefit. We should be doing this all the time.
Yes.
I mean, there's many charities and all that stuff, but I mean, Council of Christmas Cheer buys like canned food and gives it to like here. They don't put money to pay salaries and stuff. They
Right.
give food.
And it happens right here in our
Yeah,
town.
it's right down at the Victoria Street Theater, and they're wonderful people. But I mean, so it's not that big a deal. There's a lot of issues. You guys were talking about issues. There's a lot of issues that would be a big deal to address. But this is something that we're going to just kind of like pull together. I think is the musicians in town, and have a best of local talent with, Kenny and some other people coming and sitting in with us and stuff like that. And
Sounds like
it's
fun.
going to be a great thing. But as far as the wrist rockets playing and stuff, I pretty much, City Broiler has some stuff going on where you can play live, but Joseppi's is the happening place. It's really the only place to go and just let your pants fall down or up. I mean, whatever happens goes,
Right, and that's fun
and
for
it's,
musicians to have a place where
it's
they
incredible.
can really be free to do what they want. Just please themselves, and that just naturally pleases everybody else. It's good. Yeah, and I know you have a new child, I believe I heard. Probably isn't new anymore since I've seen you, but you have two now.
I have, Joseppi's is not only breeded fine musicians, a breeding ground for fine musicians, and it also was the breeding ground for my marriage to my wonderful wife, Cheryl. And we have two wonderful children, my daughter, Tiana, who was 4 in August. Hi, Tiana. And my son, who's 11 months old, Nicholas Joseppi.
All right.
Hi, Nico.
All right, that's great.
And one other thing I want to mention while I'm thinking about it is that in conjunction with the Santa Barbara International Jazz Festival, I'm holding Joseppi's first annual Lower State Street International Jazz Festival.
All right. And when?
And it will be advertised. It definitely will be advertised. Oh, Randy wants to play now. Look, he's the 5th, 6th, and 7th, I have about 7 or 8 different jazz groups lined up for 3 days. There'll be about 4 or 5 jazz groups lined up on Saturday the 7th, beginning at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it should be a great day. There's jazz going on all over town, free jazz in De La Guerra Plaza, as well as probably most people know, at the Arlington and the County Bowl. It's going to be a fantastic weekend.
All right, now this is November?
October 5th,
October,
6th,
that's
and
coming up
7th.
real
Yeah,
quick.
just in about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
All right. And of course, it's real different to sit back in the Arlington because there's a lot of separation between you and the musicians, but at Joseppi's, you're right there with them. And you can see the whites of their eyes, so to speak, and really be in the middle of it happening. So that's exciting. Good.
What I especially like that Joseppi is doing, and I really never succeeded in doing that, and that is to bring people in the afternoons. Because I found in Santa Barbara, people really try to go to the beach whenever possible. But somehow this man is getting people to come in the daytime, and I applaud you for
Claire,
it.
if you pay people $5 to come in, anybody will come in.
You even had a play at Joseppi's.
Yes, yes, I wish I had seen
That was really a highlight. It was
Yes.
definitely a highlight, which Randy Tico was.
You're right, amazing.
major
Just
part of.
amazing. I know. I didn't get in the door. I was a little late. It was on a Monday night after the show, and I came down and the door was locked. and I couldn't get in the door to see the play. You know, it was
Oh,
just
really?
after it,
Yeah.
remember it began,
Uh-huh.
but you used every single bit of space, so you
Right.
couldn't have people coming in and out because the play was happening everywhere. But I was bitterly disappointed I didn't get in, so you're going to have to do it again sometime.
Definitely want to do another play.
Yeah, that was really great.
Definitely.
I noticed another thing you said before also was that you learned to love musicians, and so do I love musicians, and it has, for me, it has to do with the fact that a musician has so much else on his mind than me. I mean, sort of like a musician is never bored. You know, they always take their instrument and go somewhere and blow it or whatever they do. It's very nice. And then in between, musicians are so patient with others. Very interesting about it. It's almost like being understood more than being understood, you know, because you guys, you're like dancers. Some of you play 6 to 8 hours a day. It's unbelievably remarkable, you know, and then sort of too blown out to be nagging and complaining much. It's kind of just, you've had your greatness.
I appreciate musicians a lot too, and some years ago I rented rooms in my house,
I
and
remember.
I always had musicians living in my house. And I remember John Hawk, I don't know if you know John, but John made his first guitars in my garage.
Really?
That was his workshop, and he was a wonderful roommate. And of course the pluses were that some nights late at night I'd hear him start to play his acoustic guitar, which I don't think he played very often. And I remember one birthday I had where he played. I always liked it. I never said a word to him about it, but I always felt that was his birthday present to me. He played for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, very late into the night. And I felt that it was for my birthday. Whether he even knew it was my birthday, I don't know, but it was wonderful. And I've had lots of different kinds of musicians that I had in my house, and they were all wonderful. I think their patience comes from, they have to be patient with themselves. Because I think sometimes, maybe I don't know this process, but it seems like music sometimes takes a long time to be complete. And it's different, I think, than writing. You put it down.
Yeah, right.
I've never been able to imagine how their brains work, especially musicians that hear all these different instruments. It's just a wonder to me how that can happen. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. It took me ages to learn to listen to the different instruments. I finally, I had no background in rock and roll at all. I finally could hear the bass all by itself in the midst of all the, and so I realized the safety of the bass, you know, the bass, and the drum, and then I used to be able to tell I used to be pretty good on guitars and things like that, but a musician must have it always, like an orchestra in his head all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And of course, they all hear it a little differently because
I'd like
it
to
all
have a cup of that, you know? I really would.
If you find it, let me know, will you?
I have no talent for music, none.
But your talent is for writing.
I know, but I'd rather be a musician.
Yeah, well, I would too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Practice. That's it. That's why they are so
Yeah.
patient. Yeah.
And don't you think it's true that with musicians, their instruments are, if not a part of them, like they always say that if you are involved with a musician, that you always have to know that their guitar, their piano, or whatever it is really first in their heart. And no? I mean, it's like, isn't it a part of you that you just can't quite have too far away from you?
Well, yes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
if there's
it
a fire, Randy,
But it's like-
and there is.
It's come down a couple of times where it's either the guitar or you know, but
Yeah.
I hate to advertise that, and I just did. It's just great. But no, it's a blessing, and just from my own personal experience, if I play something that's unbelievably wonderful, it's not me.
Yeah.
It's not Randy. It's not, you know.
Yeah.
It's something else channeling through.
Right.
You know, and that's what music does to me. Every cell in my body jiggles. It just wiggles around when I hear something really good.
But you have to put yourself in a place to be ready for that to come through. And as you say, you've practiced long enough, so now you can kind of get out of the way and it'll come, and it's great. So thank you for practicing so hard all these years.
You're welcome.
Really. And one of the things you do that we haven't mentioned tonight is that you are the, I don't know if this is the right title, the poetry editor on The Independent?
Oh, that is the right title. It is the favorite title of my life, actually, to be a poetry editor. How lofty. I'm extremely thrilled with being poetry editor at The Independent, and I think, once again, Marion Partridge allows me a certain leeway. I don't think there are many weeklies in this country that have poetry in them, so we're breaking ground. And actually, I am now, I think this week there is a poem in Spanish. I'm not,
Oh, great.
and I hope to have one, to have some poems in Spanish just without translations. And so that's very nice. I'm curious if anyone will write and say, hey, I couldn't understand that. Would you mind telling me what that meant? And we have a translation available, you know, but some part of me feels that we need to know Spanish as well as the Spaniards know Spanish.
Yes.
You know, it has to be reciprocal. I mean, I feel this town is already a bilingual town. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's not Russian and it's not French or Greek or even Turkish, but it's Spanish. And fortunately, my children are bilingual, and now my grandbaby will also be bilingual. So
That's great.
I love Santa Barbara because there is a Latin sound, you know. I would love to hear a touch more of Randy Cobb and Joseppi.
I would too. Maybe they would. I know that Joseppi's gotten his accordion out of the way, but it sure would be. Isn't this a first? Is this or is this not a first with you two?
This is about a 1 million.
Oh, really?
But, I mean, we do this kind of stuff at his club all the time,
good.
like if we're loitering on the street somewhere. But never on TV, so this would be a first. Let's do that shuffle thing.
Oh, I thought maybe you'd want to do Freedom Jazz Dance or something.
Well, that would be fine, as long
Would
as
you?
you can play the head.
Well, we could try something, I guess. Oops. I have a wire attached to me here.
Well, while they're getting set up, I want to ask you one more thing about this issue of the poetry. If we just might have some aspiring poets out there in our audience, and maybe we can just give them a little nudge to send you some poems.
Oh, by all means do, and tell them also, I mean, sometimes there is no space in the paper. We don't always have a space every week, but that's what I feed off of, is poetry I've never seen before. So.
And don't you have a contest every year?
We did one last year, and we're talking about another one now, just talking about it. Contests are
A lot of
very
work.
difficult.
A lot of work, I know.
Less rewarding than might think, but
Yeah.
but it's a good thing to do, and I'll try to find enough energy. Last time we had 150 poems and 10 judges, so
Wow.
this time I think we should try something simpler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we do have some aspiring poets out there, they can send their poems to Claire Rabe at The Independent.
Yes, definitely.
And we're probably going to run out of time while they're playing music, so would you lift your book and let us see the cover? And I know it's available at the Earthling, I know.
Yes, and at Chaucer's and at Dutton's in L.A. I mean, it's really going, Capra Press is the publisher, and it's going all over the country, and I think I now have an agent for the mass market, so.
All right,
Let's wish this book luck.
congratulations. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you.
And you're going to have to come back again.
I'd love
do
to.
some more poetry.
I'd love to. I won't try to promote myself so much.
Thanks. Okay, here they are, Randy Cobb and Joseppi.
I want to say one thing about Claire's book. I don't have time to read like mounds and mounds of literature, but I read her book on the weekend, and it's the most marvelous book I've ever read in my life.
Oh.
I hope everybody puts 2 nickels together and goes and buys it, because it's fantastic. It really is.
All right. Oh, that was great. Thank you very much. You want to play another one? Or finished? Or want to do another one? I'll tell you what, why don't I tell our audience goodbye, thank everybody, and then you can play us out. How's that? Does that sound good?
We can play that one backwards.
Okay, that sounds good. I just hope that the audience out there has had as much fun tonight as we have. I know we've all had a good time here together. So thanks for tuning in. Remember that this show will repeat again on Saturday at 4 o'clock. So if you liked it, tell somebody about it and let them see if they like us too. You've been watching Outrageous Women, and I want to thank our wonderful crew. Without them, this wouldn't happen. And thank you for tuning in. We hope that you'll tune in again next week. And don't forget our dear Mother Earth, the most outrageous woman of them all. See you soon.